Welcome back to McRaeathon 2024. I'm going to be your host for the next few rounds. My name's Broken Hyperlink, if you're unaware. We are a 2-day speedrun marathon here at McRaeathon, held annually both on McRaeathon and BSG's channels, where through the power of the internet we'll bring you 2 full days of racing goodness from the comfort of our homes to yours. Coming up right now, we actually have Viper, imagine, doing Stuntman, all driving missions. So Viper, I'll just let you take it away then.
Thank you very much, Linky. Yeah, this is Stuntman. A lot of people may remember this. This was the game that released back in 2002, the PlayStation 2. This has been on actual hardware. The driving games consist of 5 precision tests, 8 speed tests, I think it is. Sorry, 7 speed tests, and 3 stunt tests. Now, we're going to start with the speed test because these have a variety of different vehicles, and then precision and stunt will be using the supercar for the full lot. And there's not really much in terms of what car to change to. So we're going to get the bit we've happened about with out of the way first, and we're going to start off with Louisiana using the monster truck. We'll get into why as we get going. So if we're ready to go on the time, I'll give you a countdown from 3, 2, 1, go. Okay,
Good luck.
Thank you. So, Stuntman, released in 2002, was made by Reflections, the same company that made the Driver series. As I said, came out in 2002. This was essentially a sort of like a beta sort of look at what Driver 3 was going to be. So the basis of Stuntman itself, aside from the fact that, well, we're driving a big-ass monster truck, which we'll get into in a second, is the fact that Stuntman was a movie-based game. Now, it wasn't based off, like, you know, a real movie, but the games in... Well, let's put it this way. So, you've got licensed games like, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean and like, you know, Batman and stuff like that were based off actual films. Stuntman is basically a case of what would happen if you made a video game that was based off popular films and found out, well, basically, how about you do the stunts that the Stuntman would do? So, what I mean by that is, in this game, there are 6 films that you go through. There is a whooping and a hollering. There is, which is what we're doing right now. There is Toothless and Whopping, which is like a... So, it should come as no surprise. A whooping and a hollering is essentially a Dukes of Hazzard knockoff film. You've got Toothless and Whopping, which is like Snatch, Guy Ritchie sort of film knockoff. You've got Blood Oath, which is a Japanese Yakuza sort of film, and it's based in Bangkok, so it's in the in the Far East. You've got Conspiracy, which is about it's like a crime thriller sort of film, so like a drama thriller sort of film, where there's a murder on a military base and no one knows why. You've then got the Scarab of Lost Souls. I forget what it is. I think it's Dakota Scott in the Scarab of Lost Souls, which is essentially Indiana Jones spoof. And finally, you've got Live Twice for Tomorrow, which is essentially what you call it? It's
James Bond?
James Bond knockoff. Thank you. That's the one. I can't think of the name of it then. So the way that the speed tests are based off, so we've gone through Louisiana. That's where Whooping and Hollering was based. So between every single one, we've got to do this. We've got to go back through everything. You're in for a bit of a treat here. So we've done Louisiana. That's the Whooping and Hollering. We're now doing Monaco, which is the Live Twice for Tomorrow. So we're going to be driving around Monaco in a monster truck. Now, this game has a variety of vehicles and locations. So there are 6 locations. Okay, it's not that much of a variety. But because each film is different, it's set in different places. So, for example, Live Twice for Tomorrow, obviously, is set in Monaco. Because where else would you shoot a James Bond-style film? Louisiana, obviously, that was set for the Whooping and the Hollerins, Dukes of Hazzard spoof. We've got Bangkok, which is where the Blood Oath film is shot. London, which is where Toothless and Whopping is shot. The Sky of Lost Souls is shot in Egypt. and we have Switzerland, which is where Conspiracy is shot. It's worth noting that Conspiracy is shot entirely in the snow, and you'll see a funny vehicle being used for that one. It's relative to the actual thing we're doing. So speed tests are essentially a 3-lap race around a certain part of the map. The only difference being Louisiana is a point-to-point race, and there's not really too much to explain for the speed test side of things. But as I said, 6 films, and during the actual main part of the game, the films get harder as you go up. They have a certain percentage that you need to meet, so they can be involving weaving between cars. They can be you can be having to avoid explosions and things like that, and it's all time based, so you need to make sure that you're quick on the ball and you need to react accordingly. Now I will just say as well that the physics do not behave sometimes, and it can be an interesting time, that's for damn sure. But one of the things that happens between films is you do these stunt things where you might be trying to set the world record for amount of buses to jump over, or be part of a dangerous driver's set, trying to show off and do synchronized driving and doing stunts and things like that, or firing out of a canyon or something like that. Also, that is Monaco done and dusted. So now that we've done Monaco, now we get into London with the supercar. We've got Bangkok as well, and then we move on to Switzerland and Egypt. Now we're not doing these in order, we're doing these in a certain order because ideally we want to, well, not have to pick the same car over and over. So we're going to be using this car. So this car that we are picking is the supercar that is used in You Only Live Twice for Tomorrow, mainly in the very final mission in the game. It's very annoying and very dubious, let's just say that. It can be a bit tricky. But yeah, we were also playing on the NTSC version as well, because it's slightly better than the PAL version. Although, if you're going to do the main part of Stuntman, would highly recommend doing using the PAL version. So the PAL version, for some reason, has slightly better physics on certain parts of the game. So in terms of one of the plots that you've got to do is... oh, damn, that's not what I want to do. But there's a certain stunt that you need to do in a whooping and a hollering, which involves doing a barrel roll, because it is part, I think it's called corkscrew or something. And yeah, to cut a long story short, with this particular corkscrew, the physics don't always work properly in the North American version. It seems to be easier to fail on the North American release, whereas the PAL release is like, yeah, a lot easier. Also, one thing to note as well, which I'm going to have to keep an eye on now because I didn't realise how bad the car had wrecked already. But during these races, you have to keep an eye on, if you see the top right hand corner, we have a damage meter. If that fills up to the top, then the car is wrecked and I have to restart the race. So I need to go a bit careful. So going fast whilst trying to avoid damage, it's risk versus reward. And the thing is as well is there's no way of actually repairing your car other than starting the race again. So I need to be very careful. But as I said, it was made in 2002, so the physics are a bit junk, as you might expect. But as I said, this was like a beta version of Driver 3's system. I think like vehicle handling system, from what I remember. But it's obviously, this game was very synonymous with its difficulty level. I'm sure a lot of people may have played a demo of this or remember its infamous difficulty. There wasn't really a difficulty spike, I don't think. It was more of a case of, it was just hard from the get-go. Like, I know things like Driver is difficult, which is also coming up later in the marathon, I know. But I think this actually is more harder than that. And that says a lot about the difficulty of Driver 1. If you think Driver 1 was difficult, you might want to try this. There's also a reason that I'm not doing all the story missions, by the way. and that's also why. Because, unfortunately, for whatever reason, Driver 1 has a difficulty spike, but it's not as hard as this one, I will just say that. You could call it skill issue, call it whatever, but, yeah. Fair to say,
Call it skill issue.
it probably is skill issue, yeah. But this was, in my opinion, this is definitely harder than Driver 1. If you think Driver 1's difficult, then do not try this. The other thing is, as well, is that there was a sequel made called Stuntman Ignition. And Stuntman Ignition, if you want an easier time, play that. Trust me. It is a bit easier and a bit more doable to beat. I remember trying to beat this when I was a kid and really struggled. Like, really, really struggled. But then I played Driver 1, and I remember struggling with that a lot, but then I actually managed to finish Driver. I finished Driver more than I finished this. Like, you couldn't make this up. It was just one of them.
See, you trained with the baby game, that's what it is.
That's it. That's the one. That's the one. But that's the thing with like I said, with Stuntman being like it is difficult, but again, it really just depends. Some of the vehicles, by the way, I've not really mentioned much about the vehicles. So there is a variety in this. You're only going to be seeing 3 vehicles for this mainly. You will be seeing all the locations. But the main vehicles that you'll be using will include typical sedans. You'll be using in 2+ in Wapping. It's like old jalopies, as we'll call them in Britain. Like the old Escorts and things like that. You move to Wapping and O'Halloran, and it'll be like muscle cars and things like that. Move to Blood Oath, which is where we're based now. And you get like Japanese sports cars and tuk-tuks. And then if you move to Conspiracy, you've got 4x4s and snowmobiles and things like that. Move to the Skyrim Lost Souls, and because it's an Indiana Jones film, you've got like Jeeps and things like that. And then Only Live Twice for Tomorrow, you obviously have like supercars and sports cars that get used. Because James Bond doesn't drive about in some crap car, although he might have done in the 70s, but given the films that I'm pretty sure the Bond film that this is based off was maybe Die Another Day at the time, because that was the latest James Bond film that was coming out or had come out at this point. I also found something out as well, which is, so there is a trailer which you can find if you leave the game in its demo mode. It'll roll like a trailer for the game. The date that's in the NTSC version versus the date that's in the PAL release at the end of the trailer is completely different, which I'm not really surprised at, given, you know, regions release differently in terms of different dates, but I only just noticed that when I left the game in demo mode earlier on today, so how I didn't notice, I don't know. But in the UK, I think, or just in Europe, there was a release date of September, but in North America it released in July, so they actually got it a lot earlier than we did in Europe, which a bit biased, I think, there for America, being honest, but yeah, there you go. Anyway, with that being said, we now move on to our third unit vehicle, which is Switzerland, and we're going to get, if I can find it, it should be here somewhere. There it is. It is the snowmobile. Now, there's a reason we're picking the snowmobile for Switzerland, and here's why. So, the snowmobile is all ice, and this actually works quite well on this. Now, the snowmobile does like to slide a hell of a lot, like this. This also has a bug as well, we found out. It happens on the European release and the North American release, which is, if you follow a certain path, then unfortunately that checkpoint up there doesn't spawn for some odd reason. I don't know why, but it doesn't seem to spawn. The other thing is, as well, is why not use a vehicle, any other vehicle for this? And because of the fact of, with it being ice, the cars just spin the wheels all the time, non-stop. Whereas with the snowmobile, it's got a chain around it, so it's able to just... Well, it's not exactly gripping the ice here, but it's able to just keep its speed and can go pretty quick, and you can easily get around the circuit pretty fast. Switzerland is kind of blink and you'll miss it, although in Conspiracy, I didn't actually realise how short Stuntman was in terms of missions, but I always felt like Stuntman had a lot of missions in the main game. Turns out it really doesn't. Like, it really doesn't. It has barely any whatsoever. I think it has something like maybe 20 or something altogether. Also, that is Switzerland done and dusted. And we move on to Egypt, which, coincidentally, this will look really stupid, but Egypt are actually going to use the snowmobile again. Because this is the one vehicle, for some odd reason, that seems to drive really well, and because of how small it is. It gets around the circuit really easy. I don't know why, don't ask me why. It just does. After all, as one wise man once said, if you do the thing and you don't fuck it up, it works. It just works. Is that right, Linky?
Very much so.
That man was Jontron. Also, well, I'm just going to say this now. The music that was used in this game, you can tell what films they were based off based on some of the soundtracks. This one could not be more Indiana Jones if it tried. I'm sure John Williams should have opened a blooming lawsuit against Reflections for this. Like, they couldn't make this sound more like Indiana Jones if they tried. Like, if it, you know, what it was based off. Like, you know, it couldn't make it any more obvious. You know, it's like, oh, it's based in Egypt, which was probably where some of the Indiana Jones films were based. I've no idea. I'm not an expert. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But it's just funny where you're like driving around this on a snowmobile, and it's like all the buildings, it just fits. And it's interesting though, because not just that, but also the fact is that, well, games like this, concepts like this are very rare these days. I would genuinely love to see what a modern sort of Stuntman sort of game would look like nowadays. Given how everything's CGI and animated stuff, I mean, maybe that's the reason why, is because it's basically saying that you're not missing much with the film industry. And that's why they just make video games based off the films rather than how you make a film. Well, I could be completely wrong, of course. So we have one more coming up after this, by the way, in terms of the speed test. I'm getting the speed test out of the way first as well, because the speed test contain an extremely hard challenge, which is you have there's an arena race, and it involves jumping a lot between things and doing lots of jumps and hoping that you don't screw it up, and it can be quite difficult. So whilst I'm doing that, and I'm going to have a bit of squeaky bum time, so to speak, for that, and concentrate on that, I will let Linky take it away.
Yes, we would just like to remind everyone that we are raising money for Mind, which is a nationwide organisation committed to prevent mental health issues and to support everyone who has dealt with mental health issues themselves or with their family. All our donations are going to Mind. In every region of the world, mental disorders surpass 10% of the population. Governments seem to lack momentum in reducing the burden of mental health problems, and only 55% of mental health awareness and only 8% of suicide prevention plans. Organisations like Mind help raise awareness to the issues, helping us get one step closer to a world where everyone gets the help they need. Need me to continue on, or?
If you want, you can go for it. This is the hardest one in the entire run, so.
We would also like to thank BSG for supporting this marathon. Besides providing us with their channel for streaming, they are sharing technical assistance and their donation service with us, which helps with a much smoother running with running a much smoother event. Be sure to check BSG's next event, BSG 36, from June the 1st to the 2nd, 2024. Also, be sure to check BSG's annual event, BSG Annual, which is running from August the 11th to August the 17th in 2024. Doesn't feel right saying 2024.
I'm still stuck in 2023 with sometimes that I say stuff.
I'm still stuck in 2022.
So this is the arena one. It's very difficult. Mainly because of the fact that the time limit is very tight and you don't want to be getting the car flipped over or anything like that. So hopefully things go well. So I've got to just make sure that I land on these platforms. This is like the hardest bit of this run by far. Also, as well, that I will just quickly mention what's on my mind is this is one of the hardest. Like I said, this is one of the hardest races in the entire run. But also, not only is it one of the hardest, but also, yeah, anything can go wrong. And as you can see, it's like, you know, you want to make sure you get your acceleration right as well. Yep. We've also found out as well with the cars as well. This is one thing I've not mentioned yet. The reason we're using this thing and not a stunt car, the supercar, is because of the fact of if we use any other car, the physics just don't respond properly. Whereas for some reason this car was like, yeah, this will work. This car seems to love doing jumps for whatever reason. There we go. Oh, okay, and that is all of the speed test done. Thank God for that, because that is the harder bit. That's the harder bit. Or the really hard bit. So we get that bit out of the way first, so it's done. So now we move on to precision tests. Now, precision tests are like really, really fast. They involve doing weaving and stuff like that. You remember how I was talking about driver? Yep. Well, here you go. This is essentially what these are. Precision tests are short and sweet, and they involve weaving and don't really involve doing jumps, but they involve weaving and doing handbrake turns and reversing through cones and stuff like that, as you'll see now. And they can be very, very short, again, as you'll see. With this, they certainly are. You also get penalties if you hit a cone. So if it like that. So if it's blue, it means I have to reverse in. If it's green, it means I go through forwards. Now we're going to use the... we're obviously going to use the supercar for this. Because obviously it's the fastest car. And like I said, this is the only car we're going to use for everything else going forward now. It's a shame that the precision tests don't play back-to-back. Otherwise, we probably would happily save time. Just make sure I get this right. Yeah, we'd probably easily save time if they just played back-to-back, or you just hit like triangle to go to the next one, but you don't. So you have to keep coming out, going into the next one, going out, going into the next one. Sucks, really, but either way. But yeah, the rules for this are basically you need to make sure that you're doing the full lot. Obviously, as long as you've done them all, it's completely fine. So we're going to go in there first. Oh, I got 2-second time loss. Oh no. But again, the car's fast enough, so it's fine. There we go. Reverse through that one. There we go. Oh. Nice. So, again, that's the second one done. And the thing is, the precision tests are quite... there's individual categories as well for the speed test, the precision test, and the stunt tests. The old driving game shows the full lot off, so hence the reason why I was like, oh, you know what? I'll submit it. Fun fact, this is the first time this game's ever been shown in a marathon, so I hope I'm kind of doing it justice. I know it's McRaeathon, but it doesn't matter. It still counts. It's a marathon. It counts. And yes, I know, I am aware it's not the full main game, but like I said, I can try and explain as much about this game as I can. Also, here's a fun one. You start backwards. And then go forwards. And then guess what? You go backwards again. Like that. So this one's a bit more tricky because it involves having to turn around pretty fast. Which you can use a variety of vehicles for this game. One of which which someone's mentioned in the chat, is a tuk-tuk. Yes, no joke. As I said before, you can use tuk-tuks to do this. It can be a bit difficult to do them with the tuk-tuk, especially the last one, but it does mean that because you've got a shorter turning circle, it means that, well, let's see, you can do them a lot faster than you think. So, with that being said and done, that is the third one done. 2 left to go, and then we move on to the stunt tests. Now, the difference between the speed tests are, like I said, they're circuit racing. Precision tests involve like weaving and things like that. Stunt tests are a bit more of a different one. So how a stunt test works, and again, we'll get to it anyway, but a stunt test works by, you have 10 tokens that you need to collect, so it tests your speed and also your jumping skills and things like that, and also how well or how badly you can stop the car from being completely wrecked. It's not easy, but it's one of the things. Also, the song that keeps playing is the only song that plays for these for some reason. So apologies if you hear the same thing over and over and over again. So this is a fun one here because you need to turn it around really quick to make sure you can get through there like that. Nice and easy. There we go, nice. I know a lot of people are like, I hate this song. It's like, I know, I like this song. But after a bit, even I would say it gets a bit annoying, but it's fine. No problem. Nice. 4 down, 1 to go. And then, like I said, after that, move on to the stunt test. But, you got anything you want to mention, Linky? Whilst I'm going between tests? All ears.
We just... Do you want to get updates for when our marathons go live? Or when your favourite runs are coming up?
I would
then
love
follow
so.
us on... Then make sure you follow us on Twitter at McRaeathon. It's a consensus ad still Twitter, right?
Yeah.
We're not calling it X.
Everyone calls it Twitter still. It's X, Twitter, call it whatever.
Also, don't forget to join our Discord if you haven't already, and if you wish to catch up on previous McRaeathon runs, be sure to head over to our YouTube channel.
For some reason on this one... Oh, actually I didn't even mention that yet. Been good. I got that right.
How could you?
This game has a Game Boy Advance version, and it has precision tests on it, and the fastest car in that game is the one that you get during... I love how the cone just has been pushed away and it still counts. That's pretty good. There we go. Nice.
We don't need cones anymore.
Yeah, we don't need cones. It's fine. Well, with that being said, we now move on to Stunt Test. But yeah, this has a game. There's a Game Boy Advance version of Stuntman. It's pretty good, actually. For a Game Boy Advance game, it's not bad. And it's actually more finishable than the PS2 version. I had a lot easier time with that. Yeah, it's a case of... So you have 5 precision tests on that. The precision test involve collecting letters, I believe. If you beat them all together, then it ends up being... You end up unlocking the fastest car in the game, I think. Oh, no, sorry, no, the stunt test is the collecting letters. So we're collecting tokens. But yeah, so this is what I mean. So there's 10 tokens that we need to collect, and luckily, the first test and somewhat the second is relatively easy. The only bit that catches me off guard every time is, well, when you get to the end part, it's like, ooh, okay. So that'll be interesting. So I just don't want to miss this. Yep. There we go. Nice. So that's the first stunt test done and dusted. And like I said, it'll be a case of the second one is a bit more tricky. The third one is very tricky because it has a few points where you need to actually do jumps and make sure you land them and not damage the car too bad. So we'll see how that goes, and I'm hoping it'll go well. But if it doesn't, then eek. But yeah, the current record for the driving games is 31-26 for the full lot, set by myself. Mainly because of the fact that I'm the only crazy enough person to actually give this a try. So, but feel free to give it a go. I do believe, so this game unfortunately has the problem of not working on emulator too well. But I do believe there is a 60 frames per second patch for PCSX2. So it is somewhat playable. So I don't know, maybe this category is playable. I do know that this unfortunately has the problem of it's one of the PS2 games that for some reason, I don't know why, it doesn't it has the problem of the tracking from stuff. So what I mean by that is you'll have to follow a car in certain missions, but the tracking is completely off for whatever reason. I don't know why, but yeah. So if I can get this, can I get this? Can I get it? Can I get it? No, I can't. That's what I mean, like by wrecking the car. I need to quickly restart that one and do that one again. Boo. But yeah, it's a case of that's what I mean by the damage meter as well. If you screw it up, then that can happen. So can be a bit tricky.
Well, in the meantime, I do have a quick message if we have time to read it out.
Yeah. Go for it.
We have a €3 donation from Zola, simply saying, "Let the baseline get you."
Of course.
I think it has been.
I think it definitely got me there. Okay, so as I was saying, I just need to get this token. It's this last one that is the pain, to be honest. Just go like that, and then hopefully it clocks it on the way down. No, it doesn't. Well. Oh my god, that was a steal. How the hell did I miss that? I got that. That was 2 attempts and it missed. How did that miss?
The baseline. The baseline.
Oh dear. This is not going well. I don't get how I've got it up until now, and then now I can't get it for some reason. BS physics is what I'll call it. This is what I mean when I was saying before about the game being busted. It's the game's fault, it's not mine. Yeah, I actually said it. I blamed it on the game. Either way.
I know, Chad, how are we feeling? Is it skill issue or the game?
Oh, they'll turn around and say it's me 100%. Okay, I'm gonna quickly drop off here and just hope that... Yeah, okay, it's sustained a lot less damage there. Oh my god! Okay. Got it. Thank you. There is a god.
Oh, I was just about to make a poll saying skill issue or game issue.
Uh-oh. Well, either way, so that is the second stunt test. I was saying, like, oh, that's not gonna help. That's not gonna work. Okay, so last one. If I get this first try, I'll be very happy. But yeah, time is gonna be coming up, and it'll be basically when I collect the last token on this one, just for tech. It's when I collect the last token. I'll probably shout time when I collect it, but you'll see it when I hit 10 out of 10 tokens at the top. That's when time is. So this one involves doing a variety of different acts, including driving upside down. Again, which we did before. Okay, so I need to get onto this roof here to collect this token. Drop off this one. That's got that one. Oh my god. Ooh. Okay, luckily it resets you. So if you flip upside down, unlike in the actual one, if you flip upside, it just as a heads up, if you flip upside down in a stunt, then what happens is the game will immediately fail you. In this, the game doesn't reset you. Pretty good. Right. Got like 20 seconds. Okay, so... And time.
GG.
I just about scrounged it. Just about scrounged sub 35 minutes, Jesus. Actually, believe it or not, I knocked my estimate from 40 minutes down to 35. Yeah, so that was Stuntman. It behaved itself. I don't know how the hell I scrounged sub 35 there. That was a friggin' clutch and a half moment. Holy hell. But yeah, would actually recommend giving this game a try. I know I just made that look difficult, but recommend giving this game a try. The driving game stuff individually, if you want to try speed test, precision test, and stunt test, you can do all them individually. There is a Discord as well if you want to give the other game a try as well as this one. So there's, like I said, Stuntman and Stuntman Ignition, but they're I'll let this play on its own. But basically between the lot, yeah, you can choose to do the story missions, you can do 100% game, you can do the speed test individually, the precision test and stunt test all individually, or do the old driving games category like this. And yeah, I think that's going to round things up from me, to be honest. I didn't actually expect this one to be the pain, the stunt test to be the pain, but wasn't a PB, but oh well, what can you do? But either way, yeah, like I said, feel free to give this game a try. According to what Ventilo was saying before, it does work on emulation if you want to do driving games. There's a 60 FPS patch, which makes the game look way better and plays better. But like I said, the AI is completely busted, so if you want to do a run on emulator, you're out of luck there for the time being. If you do want to do a run of this game, obviously you'll need to buy it on console and everything. I believe it's cheap enough to get hold of, but again, to give it a shot and everything. But yeah, I think the game crashed on this last time. It did freeze here, or here. Okay, yeah, it didn't freeze this time. It crashed on me earlier on that particular bit, so I'm glad it's not frozen. Either way, yeah, I digress. I'm talking too much. I'll hand it back over to Linky, but hopefully, you know, like I said, hopefully see a bit more Stuntman in marathons in the future. But yeah, I'll hand it back over to Linky.
Thank you for that very close call, Viper. Very fun one to always watch anyway. Where can people find you?
You can find me over at Viper Races on Twitch. I do have a Twitter, but to be honest, half the time it's just me whinging. So I'm going to plug McRaeathon instead. Go and follow them for information regarding this awesome event, of course. And yeah, that's going to be about it from me. I've not really got much else to say.
Well, no worries. Well, folks, we're going to go to an intermission for about 15 minutes, but don't be going anywhere, because next up we have Peppercorn with the namesake of the marathon, Colin McRae Rally 2.0. Nearly got that mixed up. So we'll transition over now and we'll see you all in a few minutes.